MAHA Moms podcast. Today we have a great guest, Christine, and we of course have our other Christine who's always with us. So Christine is a passionate leader in the construction industry. She's dedicated for advocating for healthier homes. She's a licensed contractor and she has a holistic construction consultant. Her journey began in 2011 when she purchased her first home and excited to embark on a full renovation. However, her plans were derailed by the discovery of serious mold issues during this demolition process. So this prompted her a shift in her focus. And she was faced with this condition. She made a difficult decision to sell her dream home. And this experience ignited her commitment to ensuring that other families wouldn't have to endure her similar challenge. And she's a woman in predominantly a male industry, definitely when we talk about licensed contractor. So she recognizes the importance of being a voice for a safe, healthier living environment, which we just absolutely love, Christine and I. This is what we really try to promote is how do we get our homes to be less toxic and safer for our health. So Christine, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Tell yourself. This is a little bit of a brief introduction on your story, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, and I know it's probably not your usual content over here, but there is a lot of overarching overlaps when it comes to health and what's going on within your home. And yes, I was part of the prevalent population that did find mold in my home. It was my very first home, and it was something I was very excited to renovate. I've been in the construction industry for over 10 years, and so it was something that I purchased and wanted to gut the kitchen, put in new cabinetry, but we discovered behind all of the cabinets was floor to ceiling mold that was not ever picked up on the home inspection that I did. And if you look at pictures of the home, you see nothing. It's not like I've got like black mold growing on cabinets and tile. Nothing was visible until it was removed. It was very shocking. Like, how did this happen? So what the discovery was that there was a second level drain line that it was old. It was like an old cast iron drain line and it had a crack in it. And so anytime that shower was used, shower or the tub, water was just pouring in behind the walls. So it was devastating. It got corrected, but in my journey of being a contractor, working for other contractors as well, building defects are a very prevalent issue.
Yeah. I first of all, it's got to be so upsetting when it's your first home and your dream home and you've got all these ideas and then you come across a disaster like that. But I bet you it's more prevalent than we think.
It is. And even the EPA, they have a statistic that 50% of homes have some level of mold, but it's higher than that. And 98% of basements at some time will have some form of water intrusion. I mean, the statistics are high, even if they were accurate on their modest data. But yes, and it's not to say that everyone's home is making them sick, because not everyone has the same susceptibility levels to having like mold illness. There can be underlying things or even genetic makeup that make one family more susceptible than another. That's why you find that one family can live in a home, be fine for a decade, then they sell it, and the new family that moves in, they're inflamed and sick, within weeks.
Right.
We had a mold issue and we had to move out. It was only in the basement. But I have to wonder if that kind of enhanced our mass health issues also. But what I didn't know at the time was that when you spray bleach, doesn't that intensify the situation?
Mold remediation is a big topic, and yes, bleach is a no-no in a lot of mold remediation spaces. It's predominantly water, and mold remediation is a whole nother topic, and unfortunately is not always very successful, and it is very, very costly. I speak with potential clients every day that have gone through a remediation, it failed or wasn't successful. There's just so much that goes into it, which is why we come in from the standpoint of like building right. We do, ground up custom new builds. That's what we consult on, because renovations and remediations are really challenging to get it all.
I was surprised when they came to inspect our house again that in August, what they did was they compared the counts from what our basement was to what the counts were outside. And as
Uh-huh.
long as it was less, it was okay. But I'm like, it's August and it's humid. And I just thought that that was interesting. You know, I just thought it would be more strict than that.
Yeah, and in mold remediation, this isn't my area, but I am, involved with a lot of mold remediators because we come in after the fact, well after the fact, or we'll have them come in during the actual build process. But yes, air sampling is one strategy. There's multiple testing methods, and usually we find that thorough inspections are doing like multiple different types of sampling and testing. Um, but the goal is, yes, if we're going to come in and have, feedback on the build back, there has to be like this big green thumbs up that all clear, everything's been remediated, and you get this post remediation clearance that allows for you to enter the build backstage. But yeah, air sampling alone usually isn't considered like the gold standard.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. So you don't do any renovations, you just do from ground up, which is probably the best idea. But is your clients, are they people that have health issues or just trying to prevent getting health issues? That was what I was curious about. People are mindful
Hmm.
without
I
getting
would
sick.
say a good 90% of our clients are coming from having prior mold experience and exposure. They've witnessed building defects and how frustrating that can be. They've just not have had a great experience.
Mm,
And they're, wanting to build their forever home. They're just ready to get it right. And so we have shifted to essentially new construction because that is the most successful. Because even in doing a renovation, you're still dealing with the basement that was poured or built, 50, 60 years ago, and waterproofing has broken down. So renovations are a bit tricky to get right, but yes, if anyone could, I would encourage a new build, custom new build, not like a production build, right? With that they're going up and they're just building them super fast.
yeah,
Um, those are not the type of new construction that often, people can heal in.
no.
If,
I
if,
noticed in
sorry.
Texas they have a lot of leaks. Like I follow a few influencers that live in Texas, and they always seem to be having a springing leaks all over the place. And I'm like, what is it? Is it the construction industry there, or
Mm.
is it the weather? I was curious, but I thought that was interesting, and I was glad I don't live there.
It's not just Texas. It is everywhere. It is happening everywhere, and it's shouldn't come as, being fearful of it. It should be a very happy time if you are renovating, moving into a home. It's really just matter of fact. Like we are dealing with humans, and there is human error. And I'm sure some level of building defects have a bit to do with negligence, but I like to think that a bigger majority of the building defects are really just coming from a lack of oversight, verification. A new construction home today, it just has the architect, the builder, and a city inspector who comes by every once in a while. So there's just not enough thorough oversight when homes are built to standard building code.
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, where are the homes that you work? I'm sorry, Lisa. I keep asking
No,
questions.
okay,
You
I
go.
just want to get this thought out because I was
Oh, get
gonna
it.
lose it. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta ask it. It's gonna go away. Um, if you're building a home, what would be the difference between what you do and what the standard would be?
Okay, that's a good question because that is how 99% of homes are built,
Right.
right? If you're going to be pouring $1 million into building a home, rightfully so, you think, well, at first I got to get an architect and then I got to get a builder and then I'm all set. Like leave it in their hands. They're the experts, they know what they're doing. Um, but that doesn't mean that they know how to build a home to your standards, especially if you have CERS or chemical sensitivities or underlying health issues. That doesn't mean that, you can just have the cookie cutter what they've always done. So standard building code builds should be considered the bare minimum standard. That is like the bare minimum to where, structural codes, so the home won't fall down on you. Energy efficiency codes, so you have insulation in your home, but that is the starting point. And so to really build a robust home, or like Christine's home, you have a basement that's maybe 50 years old, it's likely to have some water intrusion at this point because the standard code compliant way, like that waterproofing, has broken down. And so there are ways to beef things up, make things more robust. We got to start from the exterior because that's how we're keeping the water out. Um, so really taking things up multiple notches to make things really watertight, airtight, and going to be a forever type of home, not these homes that are going up so quick in a matter of 4 or 6 months and they're, going to start breaking down after 20 years.
Yeah, like appliances.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like
You don't even,
everything's
you look,
becoming obsolete.
yeah, it is. Like I feel like I bought a few new homes and flipped them, but like the appliances will be like going within the 5 years now. Where the older homes, those things lasted forever. So I know what you mean. Like the house just starts breaking down because it didn't you didn't prep it like that. You know. It,
Hmm.
what was your question, Christine? When I cut you off?
I was going to ask if most of the houses that you work on are in your area in California, or do you fly to locations, or how does that work?
Oh, so I'm based in Southern California, but we do all consulting work all over the US and collaborate with the architect and the builder. Sometimes homeowners have like a really strong preference for who they want to work with. That's great. They just need to be like a willing participant of the team. Um, but we consult, virtually consult on all projects, and then we help coordinate, if someone needs an architect. We've definitely got a lot of good referrals in that department. And then we also are adamant about third-party inspections, having
Yeah.
it, having additional sets of eyes and ears on projects to really get the green light to proceed to the next step. And, new construction does not mean it's free of water intrusion or defects. So to me, any newly installed window, I'm going to assume that it's leaking unless there's actual testing that confirms, it's not. So just because it's new doesn't mean it's free of any issues.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Now, do you pick the third party inspector, or how does that work?
Well, it's interesting the conversations that I have with these experts all over the US because our job is to really help coordinate, build the team, and set the expectations. And so when I'm speaking to a leak testing expert in different parts, maybe North Carolina or Florida, it is so common that there are leak testing experts when it comes to building failures. So there's like destructive testing. There's all these experts involved in the litigation process of like a building failed and here's why, and the experts are brought in to do leak testing, to show it's leaking, all of this. And so when I have conversations with them about, hey, can we bring you in on the front end? We're doing a new construction project and all of those things that you do in the nasty litigation process, we'd like to bring you in on the front end. Make sure that we don't ever get to that part. And the amount of times that I am told no still baffles me every day. And it's like these companies have the equipment, they have the team, they have They have everything that is needed to do what they do during construction, and they will tell me no, oftentimes. And I, explain to them this makes no sense. And the whole reason why this is so important to do during construction. And I'm told all the time, and they'll tell me in my 30 years of running this business, I have never once had a phone call requesting that I come in during construction. And they're like, you know what? You're right. This actually doesn't make any sense. And we have this whole conversation. But yes, very frustrating that there is an entire industry. There's a very big industry around mold inspections, mold remediations, building defects, construction litigation. It is wild. And we're here to just try and prevent any family having to go through that process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you pick out the materials that they're going to use also?
We do. That is a big piece. If anyone's ever gone through a new construction process or even a renovation process, there's often not a lot of involvement. It is really this idea that you hire the architect, get everything aesthetically pretty and how you want it, and square footage and bedrooms and bathrooms, and then they just move into building. But if you ask a homeowner, what is your waterproofing layer, or what's behind your walls? What type of insulation do you have? Like these questions about how the home is functioning and keeping water out, oftentimes they don't know. And it's not the homeowner's fault. It is not. It is just the way the industry is, in that it's almost this gaslighting idea of leave me alone. I'm the builder. I've been doing this for so long. Let me just do what I do. Don't ask me questions. And the homeowner's just sitting there writing checks. Well, no, that is a part of the process. You answer questions. And it's not the contractor who's going to be living in that home. It's the family. So ask away.
Yeah, so you have to jump in like throughout the project and just like keep up with everybody?
Well, ideally all of these decisions and selections and everything is happening during the planning. Like as you're working with your architect and you're doing the floor plan and the elevations, that those plans are your contract, and what's on those plans is what's going to get built. And so those plans should reflect homeowner expectations, whether there is a chemical sensitivity. And it's very common with today's energy standards and requirements that spray foam insulation is used in a lot of new construction homes. But that doesn't mean that it's suitable for every family. And a quick Google search will lead you to find, there are issues with spray foam, and it's not suitable for every home and every project. So, getting informed on what is going into your home and how it could affect your health and your family is an important part of that architectural process.
Do you have any suggestions for people? I found this so fascinating because, it's like, I deal with the people that are sick. And when we do, I have like an environmental toxin test. So you're looking at your environment. So when you start seeing like things pop up in the bloodstream or in the urine, and you're like, hey, these are the issues that your immune system and your blood is dealing with. This is what you're dealing with. I have to tell them to go in their home and look at each room. So, whether you're in the kitchen and you're saying, okay, what's toxin in there? Or then you go into the bathroom. So of course, the one thing is like mold, you've got to find the source. But what are some things like that our listeners can do just in their home if they're not going to build a home, or they're not going to sell their home right now or remodel? What are some things that they can do to decrease that toxic load in the home? Because you've got like the lighting, right? What do we talk about? EMF. You've got the candles and the water filters is a big thing in the home. Like, do you do the whole system? Do you do the sink? What are your thoughts?
Well, I find that it can feel overwhelming right? If we were to go in and say, all right, you're tasked, with creating a healthy home with the environment you're in, that's going to feel really overwhelming. And so I would encourage everyone to think of hierarchies and priorities. Many of us cannot do it all or have an unlimited budget. And so if the priority is mold avoidance, start there. If priority is mitigating EMF exposure, or maybe you're one that's really sensitive to that, start there. So start with tackling one area. I will say most of the time the focus is often water damage avoidance and getting to the root cause of mold. And so starting there with a very thorough inspection and strategy for mold remediation, and ask questions about how successful is it going to be? Is this going to correct the issues? Because remediations can get into the 6-figure plus range, and it may not be successful. So before anyone's diving into, very costly remediations, ask questions, lots of questions. But I also want to bring up like renters. Renters have the hardest time, truly. And my heart just hurts for so many of these landlord stories and just issues with renters. And there's no hope. There's not no hope. It's just understanding what you can and can't do. And here in California, I have seen lease agreements that tell you you cannot do any testing at all. You can't touch anything. You can't bring in any third-party inspections. You're just like, your hands are tied. So if you're going to be renting a home, look at the lease agreement, understand what you're getting. But if you are living in a rental right now, best thing you can do is monitor it. Like, I make this comparison to the way that we have data about our homes versus what we know about our vehicles. Like, if you get in your car today, you have a dashboard, of gas, tire pressure. I mean, everything about that car. And you can, get it fixed because you are alerted about it. But in our homes that are, multiple times the cost of a vehicle, all we get is a little baby thermostat that tells us the temperature. It's crazy.
That's a really good point. Because there's so many, like you said, the house is a functioning thing. It's constantly there's so many things going on. We don't think of that. We don't think of like all the things that the house has. And how would you know? How would you be able to monitor it? Did she just freeze?
I think she did.
Her face is
It flashed before, so I'm hoping that she'll come back in.
Yeah. But we can continue the conversation until she pops back in.
I was curious.
Had that experience with the mold, and it's hard. That's sometimes when I find a patient with that, we have to go and search the house. That's the first thing we have to do is like, if you have to find the source, so
Yeah.
I can understand how that feels.
Oh no, she's gone.
Oh no, she's gone.
Hopefully that means she's coming back.
We're almost done anyway, because I know she's on the time crunch. But the other thing I wanted to ask her, like, I think we talked about EMF, or we talked about the lighting, right? And the water. Like, I think I want to ask her about that, because the filtration system with the water is a big thing. How do you keep that stuff
like
out?
the RO, the reverse osmosis or whatever?
Yeah. I used to have that on my other house, and it was just fantastic. And I don't have it on this house, the newer house.
I'm so confused by it. I do have an RO, but the filter needs to be changed. And when I went to reorder it, it's not available. And I'm like trying to find like a universal one that I could put in. I haven't had any chance. I ordered one and it was the wrong size when I finally got it. And I was like, oh. So I'm like still looking for another water filter system or something different.
Yeah, that's going to be frustrating, because it's based, you got to, the expense and the trick is that filter you have to change, I guess, every 6 months or so.
Yeah, and now I'm buying gallons again, and I'm like, I didn't really want to do this,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this other one though. It's like a big glass it goes on your counter and it's all glass and it looks like a Berkey, like that kind of filter that's like layered.
Yeah.
But you just like put the tap water in and it does like, it's like a gravity, I guess, system. And my friend did order one, and so far she's happy. So I was thinking about getting one of those instead and screwing the RO.
It's back. Yay.
Good. Okay. So technical difficulty, but back on the topic of getting data about that's
Yeah.
something that anyone can do, renter, new construction, renovation, all of that. Like get a little dashboard for your home.
And what does it tell you? Like those, I'm not technical, like technologically savvy. So what are the systems that are available? What can it tell you?
So one that is very common, pretty user friendly would be like it's called Air Things. It does connect to your phone. So yes, it's a Wi-Fi capable device, but it's basically monitoring 7 or 8 different areas of your home. So, if you have a basement, you should be monitoring radon, monitoring air pressure. If you're finding that humidity is high, which is typically over 50, 55%. But if your home has like 70+% humidity, that can, signal an issue. So I would start there to getting really familiar with your home. So something like that, but there's also great things that can be added to any existing home, something like a whole home leak detecting device. This is something that goes on where your main plumbing is. It can be added to any existing home. Renters, you're going to have a challenge with that. But you can talk to the landlord because to me, all of these things in the, quote, healthy home building space are just good building practices. Like if I was a landlord, I would want to know if there was a leak in any of my properties. Like that's not just woo-woo stuff. That is like talking about damaging your property. So there's you could get it off Amazon. It's called Flow by Moen. That is one option. There are others, but that is something that can be added to any existing home. Yes, again, it's a Wi-Fi enabled device, but it's going to alert you if there is, lots of water flowing through your pipes that aren't usually there. So that's something that we should be knowing about our homes. We're living in homes that have water lines all spider webbed throughout, and we got to know what's going on with those.
I like that. And that's tangible. It's doable. So it's kind of, you said like you froze and I had said, it's really an interesting point that you made up because the house is a functioning being. Like it's got so many things going on in different parts and we're just living in it, kind of ignoring it. You hear a clunk or something like, what's that? But you don't realize like it's doing so much behind the scenes. Like it's kind of like that your windows are still going and your phone, the apps are still running. The house is still running behind the scenes. So a great way to be able to monitor that. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge investment, a lot of moving parts and pieces, and we got the mechanical system, and we've got drain lines and water lines, all of this stuff. And we don't want to find out about it until it's caused an issue. Like, we don't want to find out about it until we demo our kitchen and rip out all the cabinets. We want to know, right, at the first sign, alert, plumbing issue, water line leak, whatever it is. And it's about leak management, like having safeguards in place because you've probably experienced patients that come to you and just have this like fear and anxiety and, okay, I'm sick, but now where do I even look in my home? I don't even know where to start. Is that toilet leaking? Is this like it's just feels like so much fear around living in your home sometimes. And step one, start by implementing whatever you need to take the fear out of living in your home.
Yeah, and that's what we found you. I was like, this is really interesting because I have to say that a lot to the patients is we need to go through your home. And they have that overwhelm and they just look at me like deers in a headlight. And it's like, what? And I'm like, well, we have to make sure the home isn't making you sick. You have to look at your environment. So that's why I couldn't wait for this podcast. I was like, this is such a thing. This is really, I mean, I love that you're you're saying, let's prevent it with the building. Because that makes sense, right? Just build it correctly first, and then we won't have to do this. But there's a lot of listeners that are sitting in their houses like, yeah, I'm not selling it right now. So
Yeah.
thank you for giving us a way to monitor that.
Yeah, monitor your home, talk to your landlord if you can, but maintenance. Maintenance is such a big thing. Probably none of us would go and get an oil change if it wasn't like this bright light on our dashboard. I mean, I'd probably go once a year, or never, because I don't even know what it is. But our homes, like we've got, filters to replace and maintenance and filters for the water coming into our home. Maintenance on your home is a big ticket item. And so that's something else to be aware of when you're purchasing a home. Yeah, 5,000, 8,000 square feet sounds amazing, but you're going to be responsible for maintaining that when the builder leaves or, everything's closed and you moved in. You got to maintain all that.
Yeah,
I know our time's running out, so I said when you had left, I wanted to ask this question, and I just wanted to know what you saw. I had a water filtration system in my other house, and it was a saltwater filtration that was on the plumbing, I think in the basement. And then we had a reverse osmosis on the sink, and so we had put that in when we moved in, but I left it there when I left. And so I don't have one on my new house, but I was just curious if you knew anything about when people are building, do people ask for water filtration systems, which is just really removing the contaminants that are in the water and trying to make the water cleaner in the house. Do you?
Yeah, and that is a very common question of, what's the best water filtration system?
Yep.
Very common, right?
All the time, yep.
And or just like with patients, right? It's what's the best supplement? Like, can you just give me the supplement to make this all go away? And my response is going to be very similar to yours, which is, what are we working with? Like, what do we need to remove from the water? Are you on well water? Are you on city water? What are the contaminants in there? If you go to the website EWG, it's like a tap water score. And it tells you what's in your municipal water at the city. Maybe very high levels of arsenic.
Yeah, we have 13 carcinogens in ours.
Yeah. So the water filtration system for one area isn't always going to be the best for another. Well water is a completely different animal. That is like custom filtration based off of the testing. So water filtration, you got to start with, what do you need removed? And then, you could even just like print that off or send it to the company and say, hey, does your system remove all this stuff here? And not all systems do. So starting there in what is it you actually want and need to be removing, and then also, value engineer what you're going to be putting in. Do you need a whole home system and you're going to be drinking that water? Or do you need a whole home system so that you can bathe and, wash your body? And then you want to do like reverse osmosis or like, complete removal of all contaminants at your drinking source. What are you expecting? We've certainly done a lot of homes where the entire home, you can go to the bathroom and drink the water from the faucet. It's great, but there's a cost with that too. So start with what you need to remove.
That's great. That simplified it. I know, like we live on the Jersey Shore. So yeah, definitely mold's a big deal because of the water. But there's a lot of petroleum, because I had my water tested, and it was, I think, from the boats in the water, and then also it could be if you live more closer to a highway. They say that the petroleum seeps into the soil. But that was really interesting that this is when I was in Tom's River, Christine. I had the water
Mhm.
tested and it was just high in petroleum. And I was like, petroleum, like, but that's an
Yeah.
estrogen disruptor, right? So it's a
Yeah.
huge disruptor. So I didn't really think that that was going to come up. I didn't even think of that. And so when I saw it, I was like, all right, well, if that's the main issue here, so how do we, like, that would make sense. Then you would want to pick the filter based upon making sure it removes that instead of buying one that your friend bought, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, this is great. I spent all this money on this filtration system, but it's not removing the petroleum.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at, what's happening around you, if you're close to farmland, close to golf courses, there's recent data that came out, golf courses that are spraying pesticides, and Parkinson's disease and how this is all kind of related. So same thing, just like we're talking about, don't just go with the cookie cutter home and it's new construction and it means it's fine. Same thing. Your home needs to be personalized in every element based off of your family's needs. And so does every family want, drinking level quality in their toilets when they're flushing? Maybe not. But, make sure that the investment that you're making makes sense for what your family needs.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of like what we do, Christine, right? It's individualized functional medicine plan or homeopathic plan. You're not going to do one thing fits all. So
Yeah.
why would your home be any different?
Yeah.
I have a quick question because I know we got to wrap it up, but I am so sensitive to fumes. Like we haven't really done anything in my house because I just recently got better. And so painting, I it was like a whole new world to me because I was like, I need to get low VOC, low VOC. And then I found out that they're all low VOC now. Is that true?
Mm.
Or is one
Yeah.
better than the other? Like, I'm skeptical.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, so many of us see greenwashing when it comes to like hand soaps and cleaners. And it's like, but you still walk down the aisle at Target and it's like overloading you with all these scents. It's like, what? Can I just have a cleaner that is just like a little soap and water? So very much happening in construction industry as well. Recycled and renewable. That does not mean that it's healthy for you breathing it. So yes, formaldehyde was removed from a lot of insulations, VOCs were removed from a lot of paints, but starting with looking at what's called a safety data sheet, an SDS, building materials have an SDS, and on it, it tells you the chemical composition, what's in the product, and at what percentage and what levels. And so with chemical sensitivities, that's a good place to start. But yes, a lot of paints will say low to no VOCs, but they could have other carcinogens and chemicals. So start there with looking at the paint. And when it comes to paint or insulation or other just like big volume items that are going into your home, like where it's going to be everywhere, start with a sample. Start with a sample, like paint, a 24 by 24 piece of board, and how do you feel? Is it giving you a little bit of a headache? Well, 24 by 24 is going to give you a little bit of a headache, but your entire home is going to make you bedridden possibly. So sample. But yes, paint and other materials are a little challenging to navigate, but start with looking at the safety data sheet.
That's good advice.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for coming on because we know that, this has just been an interesting topic that I feel like it needs to be talked about. It needs to really get out there. So we hope that we help the listeners understand this. Tell us how they could reach out to you or just begin following you. Like you mentioned your Instagram. I think that's great. And to get to follow you and get to know you better. And
that's an impressive Instagram account. There's so many videos and they were all informative as I was going through them. And I have to go through the rest, but I was impressed by your Instagram account.
Yeah, that's probably a great
Thank
place to start, I think, to get to know her, get to know Christine, what she does, and but
Yeah,
on
Instagram.
her, comment and ask her questions.
Yeah, you can send us a message, about your project. So it's Holistic Homes by Christine. I only have the bandwidth for Instagram really, so you can find us there. And we try to give just as much information because we know sometimes there's sometimes just like a question on a specific topic. So that's what we try to gear our videos towards there. And then if you're, planning an extensive renovation or new build, can reach out to us and we can talk about how we can help support you in your project.
That's awesome. All right.
Okay.
So everyone, we want to thank you for coming, and Christine, thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And again,
Thank you,
check her
ladies.
Holistic Homes by Christine on her Instagram.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.